Hey everybody, thanks for checking this out. This is my presentation I am delivering or have delivered, depending on when you're watching this, at WordCamp San Diego 2016. So I appreciate being invited to speak, and so let's get into it. My topic is your content helping or hurting? And I wanted to talk about this because a lot of people push out content, but a lot of people don't know whether or not it's helping their business, hurting their business, or just kind of like keeping them in the middle. So the subtitle of this talk is also, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the superb. So let's jump into it. Thank you for watching this. Thank you everyone for being at WordCamp San Diego. Without you guys attending and hanging out, there's no opportunity for guys like me, to speak. So I know you're here in San Diego or wherever you are, and it's a beautiful late April day. So I appreciate you giving me 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes of your time and checking out the stuff and talking about content with me. So let's jump into it. So superb content is imperative when it comes to moving the needle on business goals. Without superb content, you're just another person publishing content, if you're even publishing content. It's important for us to constantly move the needle, on our business goals. And I like to clown around and joke around and say, we always want to move the needle into the red on all the dials because we're really pushing things. So, who am I? My name is Greg Taylor. I am a content creator. I'm a WordPress developer. I'm a blogger. I'm a photographer. I'm a musician. I'm a vlogger. I founded the company Marketing Press, a WordPress development company, close to 7 years ago, and really fell in love with Matt's idea of democratizing publishing and what we can do with it and how everybody can have their own voice. And when it comes to brands and when it comes to everything, that's super, super important. And if you ever want to look for me in social media, I'm all over social media as GR Taylor 2. This slide doesn't really pertain to you guys listening, as a voiceover, but I encourage anybody to ask a question. Don't wait until you get to the end of this to ask a question. I encourage all of my audiences to interrupt me, ask a question. Let's have a discussion. I'm not a guru, Jedi, rock star, or any of that stuff. I'm just somebody who's a little bit further down the little further within their journey of using WordPress and the marketing and content marketing continuum. One day, I hope to see some of you guys up here, delivering a different talk on similar content, on a similar topic. So, who are you? It's important that I understand who you are, because if I don't understand who you are, and we're going to get back to this point later, I can't deliver a message that's effective. I can't deliver a message that's effective for my company, for my personal brand, for any type of initiatives that I have, whether it be social or whatever, because I need to know who's my audience. So I'm assuming that, if you're here on a Sunday watching me speak in person, and you're here and you're interested, also, knowing what other talks are going on in different tracks, you're going to either be a marketer or a content creator or somebody who likes to use WordPress, maybe a user, maybe a novice, whatever. You're going to be a content creator who likes to use WordPress to broadcast some sort of message or idea. That's super important, because without knowing who I'm talking to, my message could totally get lost and it could be boring as hell. So the competitive landscape for content is busier now than ever. It's so busy. Everybody is talking about content marketing or influencer marketing or social marketing. The landscape now is busier than ever. And what we all have to do is, each one of us that own a company or manage a brand or even your personal brand, we have to think like two different things. We need to think like a media company always, because we are all of our own media companies. And not only are we in the information business, but we're in the infotainment business. And infotainment is, great things like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, way when I was a kid. They got that infotainment right. They were teaching you a lesson. You were having laughs. It was entertaining. And you could keep people's attention and keep them engaged, by entertaining them. There is more noise out there on the web than ever. And that's not going to change. The noise is going to get louder and louder, but how do we rise above that? Also, consumption habits have changed. Let's face it. people binge watch. People want to go ahead and they don't want to watch one episode of House of Cards or one of my favorites, Eastbound and Down. So they want to watch all of them. So I mean, you got to keep that in mind. Like, is it best to drop a whole series of articles, or do you drip them out, or do you post all of a season of a podcast or something like that? It all depends on your audience's consumption habits, and it's important for you to know that and kind of recognize that. So those are two things we need to wrap our head around. Every time I ever speak, I always start off with the 3 goals for content. The 3 goals of content are quite simple. You're creating content to position yourself as a subject matter expert, or to increase your search visibility. The other thing that you're doing is you're trying to create a community around your product, service, and brand. And the last thing is you want to create conversion and conversion points and have a high conversion rate. And for the sake of this talk and our conversation here, we're going to define conversion as getting a user to act in a specific manner that you want them to. That's going to further your business goals. Now, that could be a newsletter sign up. That could be a form contact. That could be a phone call. That could be a sale. Whenever I do this and I throw this out there, I always ask the question, are there any goals that I'm missing? And inevitably, somebody will always say making money. And I always come back with saying, generating revenue is great. And that's what we're all here for, right? This isn't, some fun and game utopian thing. We all want to generate revenue. But generating revenue isn't a goal. Generating revenue is a byproduct of meeting your goals. So if you can meet the goals of the first 3 that I mentioned, then the revenue is going to come. And sometimes the revenue is going to be slow to come. But if you keep doing what you're doing and you stay consistent, it will come. So what are the various types of content? A long time ago, content on the web was just the written word. It was just pages and posts. Now content, goes out to, it goes to video, podcast, embedded blabs, Meerkat, Periscope. I love those platforms, by the way. It's photo imagery, vlogs, of course, podcasts. Of course, blog posts, and all of that. These are all various types of content that you can push out to your audience. It's important to know, though, what does your audience respond to? What's the best manner for them to receive it? And also, I'm not going to lie, there's a comfortability factor too, from you, the creator, because a lot of times, not everybody is going to be comfortable, making a video and putting themselves out there. Not everybody is going to be comfortable sharing a photograph, or not everybody is comfortable, writing. It's important for you to find the balance between what your audience wants and what you're good at. And then I would run with what you're good at, as long as it's something that your audience wanted, and try to get better at the other ones. We talk about the 3 goals, and, do the goals vary based on the medium? I don't know. Tell me. Do they vary? Of course they do. But if you don't know what the goals are in the beginning, and you don't know what the metrics of success are for you, you're not going to even, this question isn't even going to matter to you. Yes, the goals matter, and yes, the goals vary, but it all depends on your specific content strategy. So let's just quick reality check here. I've said a lot in the first couple of minutes here, so I want to make sure everybody is with me. I didn't lose anybody yet. If I did lose anybody, raise your hand. Let's talk about it. Let's get this thing back on track. The last thing I want to do is to deliver something less than superb for you guys. So with that being said, let's get into the good, the bad, the ugly. And of course, tongue-in-cheek, I got permission from Clint Eastwood to use this image, because if I didn't, he would hunt me down and get me. No, I'm just kidding. So the good. Let's talk about good content. And what are the traits of good content? It's informative. The spelling and grammar are proper. I hate that I even have to say that, but it's so important. It has good information. There's a shareable quality to it. Somebody wants to go and spread it to their circle and sphere of influence. It's a good length. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's potentially addictive. Think about podcasts that I listened to, especially like the first season of Serial. It was addictive. It was great. I wanted more. And, that's something that you want to strive for with good content. It connects people to people. I always say that, the old world marketing, the old world, sales and marketing ideas were either B2C, business to consumer, or B2B, business to business. Well, let's throw all that out with the wind now, because we're all P2P, and that's people to people. We're connecting our brand, we're humanizing our brand through content, and we're pushing it out to other people who make decisions and influence other decisions to help us with our business goals. The last thing is, good content is delivered with some velocity, and I'm a firm believer in the velocity of the idea. I love to get an idea, kind of kick it out, get it to 60, 70% and do something with it, launch it, give it to the world, and let the audience tell me how they want to use it, how they want to interact with it. I don't want to wait until something is perfect in my mind, because then what happens is we end up taking it too far and we totally miss out on what the audience, wants and, needs. So now and forever, it's important to remember good content will never be good enough for success. Just posting good content is not going to make you successful. So, all right, now let's jump into the other side of the spectrum, the bad. What is a couple traits of bad content? It's vague. It's too long or too short. It's self-serving or over-promotional. It's more about you and not them. It has no focus, and it has what I always call the so what factor. And to me, the so what factor is once somebody is done, should you be lucky enough for them to go through the whole piece of content and get to the end, they're kind of left with the, so what? Now what? It's kind of, they're very ambiguous about it, or ambivalent about it. They don't really care, about it. It's not shareable. It doesn't create passion or stir anything up in anyone. It's just kind of so what? Now, the ugly, and before I get into the ugly, I want to tell just a quick story about. So if anybody's cut the cord out there, and when I say cut the cord, I'm referring to, to cable television. And while I haven't cut the cord, I still do have cable in the house here in San Diego. I do stream a lot of shows on Apple TV. So Friday night working on this presentation, I was kind of hanging out in my office, and I was streaming some TV. I think it was like on A&E, as I was just getting stuff done, and every, I don't know, 15 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever whatever the time is, they break in for a quick commercial. Well, I was watching the same show. I was binge watching one of their stupid shows. They showed the same commercial every 9 minutes. So you want to talk about ugly, right? They showed me the same thing every 9 minutes. It was to the point where I actually almost stopped binge watching the show because I couldn't stand the commercial. It was like some stupid LG commercial for a phone with some guy on a subway train, and he was singing obnoxiously. And while it got my attention and I'm telling you about it, I'm not telling you about it in a way that is in a good light for the brand. So more traits of ugly content is over-promotional. It's boring. Again, it lacks that it factor. Repetitive, showing me the same commercial over and over and over, for 3 hours. It's look at me content. The focus is all on me and not you or an issue or how a problem was solved, or it tells a story. Clickbait titles. Clickbait is like, so 2007, 2008. If you're still trying to write sensationalized titles to get traffic, stop now. If there's only one thing you take away from this talk, it's that. Stop. Just stop doing that. The other stuff is the content has no purpose. It lacks goals. And again, it has that, what the fuck factor. Like, it leaves you kind of like, it doesn't really leave, it maybe leaves you asking more questions, like, or it just leaves you confused or whatever. It just doesn't work. So that's the bad stuff. You saw the good. Now you saw the bad, you saw the ugly. Let's talk a little bit now about the superb stuff in my mind, in my opinion, and what helps brands stand out. Because again, not only am I fighting for time and attention and views from you, I'm fighting with the big boys too. I'm fighting with Deadspins or ESPNs or on video stuff, Netflix or Hulu, Amazon. We're all fighting. That's all content that we're fighting for time and eyeballs with. We all have a limited amount of time to consume content. Whether that's 20 hours a day, awesome. Whether that's 2 hours a day, awesome. It all varies by the audience. But we are all in competition with one another and with the big boys. So some traits of superb content is it's helpful. It helps somebody solve a problem. It helps them without you expecting anything in return. It's the Jay Baer's utility model. You're helping them before they are even maybe needing the help, or while they're desperately searching the help. A lot of my most popular WordPress articles and videos tell people how to do exactly what we do. We're helpful. And what happens is when they find out that it's too hard, they're too busy, or any other reason, they come to us for the help. So everybody, you'll remember where you get the information and the help, but it's important to be helpful. The content creator has to think like the reader in the audience. What would you want if you were exploring this topic and you were searching for it? Think of your own habits. Think of what you like. Think of, what gets you going. And while you may not be your own content's audience, I know that sounds weird, right? You may not be the perfect audience for your content that you publish. Somebody out there is. So you kind of have to get in their mindset and do it. Superb content stimulates thought. It leaves the reader with an action and makes them want to do something, even if it's just sharing it. Maybe it helps them. Maybe it stimulates a topic or something that they want to do in an idea. It moves the needle on your goals. What are your goals? Are you a subject matter expert? You want better search visibility? You're trying to create a community? You're trying to get conversion and click-throughs or sales? Superb content can do that for you. It helps somebody else also become an expert. If you can help somebody else become a subject matter expert because of the content that you published, that's a win. That's a huge, huge win. And they will always remember where they got that information and in a way look up to you. So that's super, super important. Superb content is also the perfect length. Now, I'm always asked, what's the perfect length of my content? And my answer is, the perfect length of any piece of content is the exact amount of words or time, if it's video, that allows you to clearly and concisely convey your point without going on and on and on. So I believe in brevity whenever possible. If you can explain your point in 300 words or a 90-second video, awesome. If it takes 3,000 or 15 minutes or thereabout, that's great too. Just don't add any BS, don't add any fillers. Just go ahead, get your point out there, and whenever you're done and you're satisfied that your point is out there, that's the perfect length. Maybe if you're lucky, the content can be viral. I don't know. I don't ever create a piece of content with hopes or dreams or aspirations of it becoming viral. That's sort of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow sort of situation when it comes to content. If you're lucky enough for it to happen, awesome, and be prepared for it. But if you're not, well, that's fine too. Superb content is shareable and quotable. If you read something and you tweet it out, or you read the article and you send it to somebody and you say, you have to read this, or you leave a comment, it connects people. It can connect people to people. And it's not so much you connecting to people. Superb content allows your audience to connect from one to another. So that's super important too. Superb content has to be connectable. A lot of times, superb content, and I'm thinking more on a whole site, maybe a whole marketing blog, something like that, it has multiple voices. My voice, when I write or I do videos, may not resonate with everybody. I'm a guy, grew up in the East Coast. I lived there for a while. I live in California now. My style, my delivery, my whatever, vocabulary, whatever it is, may not resonate with everybody. So if you have a corporate blog and, or any type of community blog, it's important to have multiple voices so that you allow yourself to go in there and connect with more people if you're not. Evergreen, content that you post should be evergreen. And evergreen content is, by my definition, it's timeless. You can take the date off of the post, and what you can do is you can read something that was written 3 years ago, and it's just as important and as applicable today as it was then. That's evergreen content. Superb content also has multiple mediums. Can you take one piece of content and leverage it into many? Here I am. I'm taking a piece of content that I created a slide deck, and I'm doing a voiceover, which I'm going to post on YouTube. I'm also going to write a blog post on it and put it on my website. So there's going to be 3 or 4 different, I'm also going to deliver this live. So there's going to be 3 or 4 different, ways this is going to be broadcasted and it is going to be posted. The last thing is superb content is posted. Now, that sounds silly. I know it does, right? But I always leave that for last because it leads me into a little bit of another conversation. What's the scariest button in the whole WordPress user interface? The answer is, for me, publish, right? But nothing happens until you hit publish. It's scary. A lot of times I know a lot of people who have 10 blog posts all in draft or all in queue or whatever. And they're just scared shitless to hit publish. Go ahead, hit publish, give your idea to the world, with some sort of velocity, and then let the audience shape, what they want to do with it and learn from that. So, all of that talk, right? My first 29 to 30 whatever slides. I want you to just take a moment and think, where are you in this spectrum? It's okay if you're in the bad or the ugly phases, as long as you're striving to get better. I mean, we all, stink and we all suck from time to time. But what we have to do is we just have to strive to get better. Be a little bit better today with your content than you were yesterday. And and encourage the people who work and blog and shoot videos with you to do exactly the same thing. So here are a couple tips that I have, to getting to superb and making your content better and better. We touched on this. Know your audience. Know who you're speaking to. Are you writing to, what's the demographic? Pay attention to their analytics. How do they use your site? What do they want? Use heat maps to see where they're going. Use your analytics to see entrance and exit paths. Know your audience, and also know, what they're into, what topics they're interested in, and how they want that message delivered. Some messages are better delivered with video, some audio, some just a written word. I always do voiceovers for these presentations, actually for 2 reasons. So one, so that I can practice the presentation and just see that it works and it's cohesive and all that stuff. The other thing is I do it and I post it because if I was just to post these slides on SlideShare or wherever, without the context and without the voice, a lot of it won't make sense. Like, you'll only get half of the message. And I want to make sure that, since you're being gracious with your time, I want to respect that and understand that. And I want to be able to give you exactly what I was intending to give you. So that's me knowing my audience. Another thing, know your limitations. Again, do what you're good at, practice what you're not so good at, and just understand that you're willing to get better. If you're willing to get better, when it comes to this, you will get better. And I'd encourage you to follow people that you admire and maybe bite their style or whatever, and you leverage some of their ideas to help put your content out there. But it's important to know your limitations, because if you don't know your limitations, you're not going to be able to go ahead and improve on anything. Measure everything. Measure the analytics. Measure the clicks. Measure how, the images resonate. Measure, there's so many different ways, to put universal tracking code on images or links, all of that stuff. Just measure it and see what you're doing. See what you're doing right. Pat yourself on the back. See what you're not doing so right and fix it. If you don't measure things, you're not going to know where you are and how to get better. Be prepared to fail. Now, we all fail, right? It's okay to fail, but don't keep failing at the same thing. The best kind of failure in my mind is when you fail fast, because you recognize that you're failing, you're aborting, you're willing to try something different. But by listening to these tips and going on about this stuff, you're not going to be an expert right away. So just be prepared to struggle and put the time in to make it all work and to make things better for you. Keep a running list of content ideas. This is huge. Now, my favorite way to get content ideas is by doing this. Now, I'll stand in front of an audience and I'll speak for, I don't know, I think I have a 40-minute time slot. I'll probably burn through my slides in 15 to 20. I'll hope that there's tons of questions, a Q&A. Because the Q&A is A, something I really, really love to do, and B, it gives me ideas for new content. Because if somebody has, the courage enough to stand up in front of everybody here, whether it's a room of 5, 50, 500, and ask me a question, you can guarantee that other people are searching for that same answer, through search engines. So keep a running list of content ideas. If you go to a lot of conferences, keep a list of what questions people are asking. Keep a list of what questions people ask you. Keep a list of what questions clients ask you. Turn all that's all huge, valuable content opportunities. Turn that into some content. Last tip that I always give is review, refine, repeat. So review what you did, know the analytics, know whether or not it worked, refine it, do it a little bit better, repeat it, go out and do it again. The important thing is that you're willing to refine. You have to do things better, with each time and learn something different. So make sure that you stay along the content continuum. It's not an easy path. It's a path that, is going to take some patience and perseverance. But at the same time, it's really, really worth it when it comes to revenue and your business goals. If you do stay along the path and you give people superb content that helps them and, helps them become better. It's educational, again, the infotainment model, just stay on that, just stick with it. I swear, it's a pain in the ass and some days you're not going to feel like doing it. Just stay along the content continuum and you'll start to see, the rewards. So I have 2 quick points and then I jump into Q&A here. One of my biggest things I always say is perfection is the enemy of progress. So what does that mean? If you wait until something is perfect, you are never going to get it out there. So get something to good enough. Get something to superb in your mind, but not, it doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. Let the audience determine whether it's superb there. Nobody's going to know the difference between something that's 80% and 100%. That 20% is going to take so much time, and it's not going to be worth the results because, you're sitting on it and you're not giving your idea, your content, or whatever to the world. So perfection is the enemy of progress. Get your idea out there, give it to the world, and then go ahead and review, refine, repeat, make it better. And, the last thing is go and do. Matt Mullenweg's big message is democratizing publishing, and I'm a believer in that. WordPress gave me a voice when maybe it was a little frustrating, in the late 90s or whatever, and we didn't have voices like we do now. So go ahead, take advantage of it. Go do. Exercise your voice. Go out there and try some of these ideas. Talk to people. I'm free and I can answer any questions that you have. If you hit me on almost any social media channel at grtaylor2, that's the number 2, just go out and do it. Make some stuff happen. So I appreciate you watching the voiceover. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me at taylor@marketingpress.com, or you can get me on Twitter, again, grtaylor2, or whatever. So thanks, and hopefully sometime I get to meet some of you guys in person and you see me speak live. All right, take care now.